life looks amazing. I'm in a ski town. I traveled the world, and I was bartending at this great restaurant. But inside, I was dying.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Radical Hospitality Podcast. I'm excited to sit down this afternoon with Mike Messeroff. He is a 30-year veteran in the hospitality industry whose journey has taken him from the cubicle life to bartending across the globe, now in Costa Rica, to coaching high-performing leaders at the top of their game. Today, he serves as the founder at the Carpe Diem Company and is the visionary behind the Carpe Diem Collective, a private purpose-driven community for hospitality leaders ready to reclaim their time, well-being, and personal mission. Mike, welcome to the Radical Hospitality Show.
Thanks so much, Zeke. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit, introduce you to our audience, and hear your story. Mike, can you give us just a little bit of your background, how you came into the hospitality industry and who you're serving these days?
Yeah, sure. I've spent a lifetime in the industry. I started working at restaurants, as I was maybe 14, and then spent my 20s on the corporate side of things. I worked for an airline for 10 years. That was JetBlue. I actually was JetBlue's first intern, and then I left 10 years later as their manager of business development. And, I could kind of share how that journey brought me to coaching and starting the Carpe Diem Collective, because I always knew that I had a deeper purpose, that there was something more for me, but I had a great job at JetBlue, and it was really hard to leave that. My wife actually, and I say kind of ironically that luckily she had it worse off. She worked for Time Inc. We were both in Manhattan and living in Manhattan. I worked in Queens for JetBlue. And one day she came home and I was just about to turn 30. And she said, this was the third promotion I was promised, and they said I deserved it, but there's no budget for it. So I'm just done. Let's sell all our shit, move to the Caribbean. What do you think? I actually had to think about it for a little bit, maybe 15 minutes. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Moved to St. John in the Virgin Islands. I learned how to bartend. I actually had a friend in Manhattan who owned a few dive bars. And that started our traveling adventure around the world. We spent a year in St. John, moved to Australia, traveled all over the country and bartended, and then New Zealand. We had stops in Hawaii and Fiji and Indonesia, and it was amazing. And then our travels brought us to Breckenridge, Colorado, the beautiful Rocky Mountains.
Oh, nice. Our neck of the woods.
Huh? Yeah, I saw that area code. I put, were you in Denver?
So we're just outside of Denver. We're in Evergreen.
Okay, yeah, sure. So then, it was supposed to be a ski season, as many stories go. And, years later, we still have a place there. My wife is there right now. But 3 years into Breckenridge, instead of bartending, I had kind of become the bar manager at this beautiful steak restaurant in Breckenridge. My best friend was the GM. I was there with my wife and my dog. And on paper or on Facebook, life looks amazing. I'm in a ski town. I traveled the world, and I was bartending at this great restaurant. But inside, I was dying. It was the lowest, deepest, darkest depression of my life. It was a real visceral wake-up call for me, because I kind of thought I was doing all the things that anyone would want to do. Travel the world, have fun, ski every day. I was skiing, every day of the season, 100 days a year. And I was miserable. And that kind of made me realize firsthand that happiness is not out there. It's not in the next vacation. It's not on a beach. It's not skiing in the mountains. It's something that comes from within. And I started this inward journey. I learned all about mindfulness. I started meditating, and it completely changed my life, like almost immediately. And the change was so profound that people actually would just ask me, like, hey, what are you doing? You were kind of a miserable prick, and now you're a really happy guy. And I said, well, if you really want to know, I'd be happy to talk more. And we would meet at a coffee shop, chat for, we would say it would be about a half hour, but 2 hours, 3 hours later, we would leave. They would feel amazing. I would feel amazing. And I just kind of said, there's something here, just helping people and sharing my story. And that led me into coaching. And I've been a coach for several years, a personal freedom coach. And to me, personal freedom, I think a lot of people think personal freedom means you could travel anywhere and do anything. And that's kind of a part of it. But the big aspect of personal freedom is freedom from the thoughts in our head, which are usually really negative and really destructive. And also freedom from the programming from society, from our childhood. So I started coaching and it's been amazing. And then naturally kind of evolved into serving this industry that I've spent my entire lifetime in. I started working with leaders all throughout hospitality, airlines, cruise lines, hotels, a lot of food service leaders. And it's been absolutely incredible. I've just seen as I'm out there speaking at conferences and just talking to people how much burnout and stress and anxiety there is. And I can't coach all these people one on one. So I decided to launch a community, and that's the Carpe Diem Collective, which is launching very soon. Depending on when this airs, it might be live. And it's going to be a place where hospitality leaders and really anyone in the industry, it could be a bartender, it could be a housekeeper, but I think mostly like leadership types are going to gravitate here to learn and share with their teams, a place to exhale, a place to feel seen and safe and heard and learn how to stop grinding and start living. So that's kind of the story that brought me here.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's interesting. I've got a brother. He has bartended all around Denver at all the Coors locations in Red Rocks, and they spent a season up in Breckenridge as well, bartending up there. I can't remember the hotel that they're at, but you guys might have crossed paths. I know
Interesting.
for him, I did see during that season of life, for whatever reason, he was very good at it, great, at service, but he also, and he would admit it, struggles a lot with anxiety, whatever it is, kind of the high speed, along with probably there's, a certain amount of drinking going on in that scene as well. Mm-hmm. That was I could say a really challenging season, just kind of watching him as a brother. It's been great this last season. He's doing fantastic. He's lost like 40 pounds and is, all into, health and fitness. So he's in a better place. But coming from that food service portion, what is it that you think drives, like if you're in this industry that's supposed to be helping and serving others, what do you think that drives so many people in that service industry to just end up in that place of anxiety, burnout? Like what's happening there?
I mean, it's such a good question. And I've seen patterns over the years. It comes down to something I call self-hospitality, or a lack of self-hospitality, because we get into this industry because we enjoy serving and we like people. I would hope, you kind of want to show your guests and your customers a great experience, but we don't do the same for ourselves. I mean, the most important VIP there is the person you see in the mirror, and we usually treat that person really badly. And that's a host of ways that we do that, especially as a bartender. We have an arsenal of tools to self-medicate. And I got very familiar with, my buddy Jameson. And every time you feel a little bit of anxiety, you rip a shot, and it's just, you're working late, so you're ending late at night. You're all kind of wound up, so you need to blow off some steam. Typically, you just drink more. And even the way that we reward our staff typically at bars and restaurants is a shift drink. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a great way to build camaraderie and teamwork, but there needs to be something else. There needs to be a form of self-hospitality, which is really just filling your own cup, doing things that bring you joy, making sure that you're spending time with the ones you love, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. And for me, the number one thing that I just never did, and it changed my life almost immediately, was meditation. Just realizing how noisy this world is. And if you think of someone in hospitality, the world's noisy, our minds are noisy, and the scene that we're working in is noisy. So it's just noisy everywhere. So we need to take a few minutes, like 3-5 minutes. It's not hours in meditation, but just a few minutes a day to cultivate that peace, that presence that unfortunately doesn't come naturally because we have a very busy society that's all about working towards the future and not being present now. So it's mostly a lack of self-hospitality, but it's also, programming that comes from our society and just that rise and grind culture and let's hustle, and it's all going to be worth it when we get to the end of the shift or the end of the week or the next vacation or retirement, which is complete bullshit. It's a myth. If you're working to retire, you got to see that that's not healthy. Why would you ever stop working if you love what you do? And we're supposed to love what we do, not even just like it. Everyone says, well, you're lucky if you like your work. I truly feel that we're supposed to love what we do because we spend so much time doing it. It should really be a source of joy for us, not something that we're trying to get through.
It's a huge portion of our lives. I mean, so a couple of things. Like one, it's like you got to pull that, oxygen mask down first before you're helping the
Exactly.
people next to you. And then I think you're so right. Like we spend 80% of our lives like in this, in the work that we're doing. And I come from a hard working mentality. My father's actually visiting today, and the things that we bonded on is hard work, getting out and chopping down trees and building things. And actually, my son and him are out there doing that right now. It's like, that's what we grew up in, is like, you medicate by working harder. And maybe that works. And, maybe there's there's some good to that. But this idea of finding some peace and some silence before hopping in to all of that. My brother's cure for, the anxiety that got built up in the hospitality industry was to leave the industry. How do we not, how do we, that not be the only cure? If this is the space that you're in, what are the things that, you could start to do that, are typical in the rhythm of people working in hospitality, both from the worker self-make, standpoint to, the hospitality developers like ourselves and creating the space for our employees. Like, what are the things that need to be put into place?
Yeah, I think it's great to look at both sides of like the people who are creating the culture and creating the space, and also the ones who have to clock in and they have to be there at a certain time. And a lot of times it's early in the morning or it's late at night. So it's about, there's a Latin phrase, there's several Latin phrases I love, Carpe Diem, company is my company, but that seize the day. I also really just love the concept of nosce te ipsum, which literally just means know thyself. So you have to just know what works for you. If boozing all night and waking up hungover doesn't feel good, then stop doing it. Like no one's going to be like,
feel good for a while, right? It's the morning after or the years after where you're looking down at what it's done to your body.
Well, it's the body, it's the mind. For me, it was so easy to reduce my drinking, and I still drink. I still smoke weed. I love vices. I just know that I'm doing it to enjoy the present moment and not to escape the present moment, which I think is a huge difference from how I used to numb myself and self-medicate. And it's just knowing what works for you, but also, I'll just say it again, like the easiest pill to take is meditation, not medication. Like I just say, take your meds, because when you start meditating, for me, I would meditate and I was like, man, I'm hungover. This doesn't feel good. So I still want to meditate. I just don't want to be hungover. So I would just naturally drink less. And that just led to me sleeping better and losing weight. All these benefits came from spending 3 to 5 minutes every morning using an app called Headspace. Really not rocket science. It's just everyone needs at some point to be shaken to awaken. I just say, like, how bad does it need to get? How low does your bottom need to go before you say, I'm ready for some kind of change? And what's interesting is with all the leaders that I've worked with, very few have left their jobs or left the industry. They just realized that they actually had everything that they wanted, but they weren't appreciating it. They weren't present for it. Even when they were with their families, their minds were on work or their minds were elsewhere. They didn't know how to be present. They don't know. You think about it. We live in a very, very distracted culture. Everyone's scrolling on their phones and everyone's just has a huge to-do list and a calendar full of things to do. So we're trained in distraction all the time. So to spend a few minutes a day, which is what meditation is just training in focus. It helps in every aspect of life. So I'd say for both frontline and leadership is knowing what works for you and also actually doing those things that train you to be more focused, that train you to be more present and peaceful, which is very simply meditation is one, practicing gratitude is two. And I know that sounds corny, but it just works. Just works. I had a very rough morning this morning, and I'm usually a really, really happy, joyful guy. And I pulled out my journal and I just started writing what I was grateful for. And I could feel my vibrations go up. I could literally feel my getting out of my funk by putting pen to paper instead of reaching for that quick fix, whatever I used to do to numb it or to just forget that I was feeling negative emotion. And then the third thing I would say is this kind of goes into wanting to live an abundant life. And I think everyone wants abundance. Most people don't know what the etymology, the real meaning of the word abundance is, which is overflow. And this again goes back to that beautiful analogy of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. So you have to fill your own cup. You really have to do things that bring you joy. And it's just those three things. I mean, if you're going to take anything away from this conversation, it's meditation, appreciation, and filling your own cup first, doing things that bring you joy, even if it means, hey, I'm not going to go hang out tonight after the shift. Like maybe once in a while, but at a certain point, you have to choose yourself. And for leaders who are working kind of more of the corporate lifestyle, maybe you don't have to show up at work at 8. You know, maybe you could spend a little more time in the morning for yourself. Maybe you could show up at 9 or 9:30 or 10, or maybe you're working from home. Just really keep a sacred schedule and try nothing's set in stone, but try to keep to it and just say, hey, these hours are for me. And the truth is, it's not for you. It's for your family. It's for your kids. It's for your colleagues, coworkers, clients, the guests that you're serving. So it's really, because it's hard to say like, hey, I'm just going to start taking care of myself and I'm going to be selfish and do all these things that make me happy. But if you can just flip it and say, it's the only way that I could truly serve others and truly give hospitality and hospitable service and just, unreasonable hospitality, radical hospitality, is if I feel good, is if I actually like my life and like myself. So it's actually kind of flipping everything on its head. We're always taught to put ourselves last, to have fun at the end. And I'm just telling people that's not how it works. And you don't have to believe me. Don't trust me. Don't take this as truth. Test it out for yourself, because words don't teach. If you try it for a week, meditate for 3 minutes every morning for a week and just say, I'm going to do something fun for myself this week. And just tell me if you don't feel a little bit better and you show up a little bit more calm and present. You're a better listener for others. You're more empathetic. You're more compassionate. So it all starts with just realizing you have to take care of yourself, but it's not for you. It's for them.
Yeah. I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, is this idea of selfishness if you're taking out time for yourself. As a father, I've learned, like, if I'm going to really be able to give and be there for my kids, then if I'm not coming fully full, then there's nothing to give. And, that's worse than just not showing up. And so sometimes it's worth just saying, hey, for me, it's early in the morning and I just cut it out. I've got a space. It's, hey, we're going to do family and life after 6:30 when I become a human being, and then have some coffee and have sat down, meditated, journaled, done some prayer. For us, we read the Bible, those kind of things that, connect back to a deeper spiritual place. Then when you're starting that day, you're bringing the best version of you can of yourself. One of the things I love, you're down in Costa Rica, and I know you moved from the U.S. probably for one because Costa Rica is beautiful, and I'm sure beaches and all the rest. There's also I work with a lot of people in Central America. All of our team is down in El Salvador and Dominican Republic. We've tried to set up some base in Costa Rica. We're going to be down there in a few weeks. And
awesome.
Love that area, but there's also just a different cultural rhythm, I think, in Latin America from
a little bit slower
the rhythm that we have here in the U.S. And I don't know if some of that can be pulled in, but what are some of the things that you found, between the two cultures, two worlds, that's kind of helped find that place, and what have you learned as your time down in Costa Rica?
It's funny as you're talking, I'm actually thinking about a story from Fiji, and it's the same kind of thing. It's more like local indigenous people who aren't brought up in that Western culture. So I think it still applies for your question. It's just something I've picked up along my travels. I remember I was doing this hike with my wife in Fiji, and when we were there, we had a full schedule. I mean, we were Americans, and we wanted to wring as much as we could out of our time. So we were busy doing things. And we were passing a bus stop, and this guy, this young Fijian, was just sitting there with a crate of eggs and big smiled at me. And then I smiled back, and we started talking. And I said, "What are you're just waiting for the bus?" And he goes, "No, I actually got dropped off here." And I said, "Well, so what are you doing? Why are you sitting at a bus stop?" He goes, I have nothing else to do right now." Blew my mind. It blew my mind. I couldn't understand that concept that he just was sitting and enjoying the sun and the breeze and not rushing to the next thing. And I think that's the same thing here in Costa Rica. The locals are called ticos, and it's tico time. If someone's a few minutes late, it's not a big deal because it's tico time. We just move a little slower. You expect to stand in lines at the bank and at the supermarket, and it's just not being in a rush. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, it really is, because in Western culture and our Western society, it's always about, I got to make good time, or can I multitask? If I'm on the subway, can I listen to something or read something? Or how could I do more than one thing at one time? Let me just jam it all in. Where's the space? Like, where's the ability to breathe and to just enjoy a deep breath? Maybe look around the subway car, or you're driving, and just look at the other people. Like, it doesn't always have to be doing. It could be a little more being. And that's something I've learned from my travels and also from living in Costa Rica. It's one of the main reasons I live here. I mean, of course I love the weather, but a huge factor is the culture. And it's just, I stroll. I mean, I'm a poet. I wrote a poem recently called Slower Paces and Smiling Faces. And it was just about people around town. And we just walk slower and we smile at each other. And I think you could do that anywhere. People might look at you like you're crazy. Be the weird one. In a world that is kind of really, really sick, really upside down, I actually make it a point to be the weird one. Who wants to be normal in an insane world?
As an architect, one of the things we talked about a lot in architecture school is, designing the blank space or the white space. And we just got back from Rome and along Italy. And one of the things I loved about those cities is, as you would be going down these tight, narrow paths, you'd have all these, beautiful buildings, but they would be, intentionally left out, and you'd have weird shaped buildings, but it would be designed around the plaza, or the space left out, that space in between the white space. And, and so much of our lives, we're trying to jam, get as much. And if we would, and that's okay. I'm ADD. I want to get as much done as I can. But the thing is to be intentional about designing the space left out, like intentionally leaving that white space in between, that blank space in between. Good architects know that when they leave a city, like, leave some things alone. If you go to New York, you've got, the best part of New York is, Central Park, right? It's the part they left alone.
Yep.
And I think we need more of that in our life where,
Oh, even that term, leave it alone. So many people ask me, even your question is like, well, what could we do? It's like, do less, do less, because you don't want to get to the end of your life and realize I wasn't really there for it. Like, I was in a rush the whole time. And often, here's another one of my favorite Latin terms. It's memento mori, which is why I keep an obsidian skull on my desk. It literally means remember thou art mortal. Like, wake up every day and say, I'm going to die one day. It might be today. It sounds morbid, but it's not. You really just, you got to stop doing. And it doesn't mean you're not going to be productive. A lot of, like, I work with top leaders, and they don't want to lose their edge. They don't want to lose their game. And they never do. They become better listeners. They become better problem solvers. They're actually present, instead of just kind of immediately going into, like, okay, how could I fix this? It's like they're ingesting a little bit more and more slowly and more intentionally. It's just don't feel the need to fill every space, even on your calendar. If you have like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, soak it up, listen to some music, put on a little meditation in the middle of your day, go for a walk. I mean, really get some fresh air. And if you work from home, you know, take your dog for a walk, rub your cat, like do something that actually, I talk a lot about energy, that actually raises your vibrations, that makes you feel really good and get excited. I mean, I did a 20-minute breathwork session right before this podcast because, well, I had the time and I didn't want to start some other project and get distracted. I was like, what would make me feel the best right now and be able to show up for this conversation with a regulated nervous system and full of joy. So, just again, knowing what works for you, but you'll never know what works for you if you don't slow down, if you don't start to kind of do a little more introspection.
Yeah. Well, I might throw you on the spot here, Mike. You were talking about doing a
Please do.
20-minute breath work. And you also mentioned like maybe just a 2 to 3 minute, breath work. For our audiences out there, would you have like a 2 to 3 minute meditation or breath work that you could walk us through?
Right now?
I'm down if you're down. So if not, then
Absolutely. You are standing. Can you sit on that couch?
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll do a very short 2 to 3 minute meditation. I'll get my timer out. And meditation is not about stopping thoughts. And I think that's a big misconception. Meditation is simply focusing on something, and typically it's the breath. And that's what we'll do just for a few minutes. So make sure your feet are flat, your back's nice and straight. Just want to kind of, lean back a little bit. You could rest your hands on your legs, or if someone's at a desk, you could rest it on the desk. Just take a nice big deep breath. And as you exhale, just gently close your eyes. And take another nice big deep breath, really filling up your body, really filling up your lungs. And then let it all go. Let your shoulders sink down, melt into that chair beneath you. Right now, I'd like you to just scan down your body head to toe, almost as if there's an imaginary hoop around your body. And I just want you to notice any areas of tension, stress, tightness as you scan down over your face and your head, neck and shoulders, your whole upper body relaxed, your hips, upper legs, knees, lower legs, ankles and feet, head to toe completely relaxed. Now I'd just like you to focus on your breath. Just noticing the inhales and the exhales. You don't have to breathe in any special way. Just focus on your breath. If you get distracted or if a thought pops into your head, that's totally normal. Just notice it and then bring your attention back to your breath. You could even count your breaths. You can count 1 on the inhale and 2 on the exhale, 3 on the inhale, 4 on the exhale, and you could just go to a count of 10. If you get to 10, you could start back at 1. We'll just do that for a few moments right now, just focusing on your breaths, maybe counting your breaths. Again, if you get distracted, just notice it and come right back to your breath. And now just for a moment, let your mind be free. If you've been wanting to think, you could think. Just let your mind do whatever it wants to do, just for a moment right now. And now you could bring your attention back to your breath. And now bring your attention back to your body. Feel the weight of your body on the chair beneath you. Feel your arms resting on your legs or on the desk in front of you. Notice the room that you're in. Maybe there's some sounds, something you could smell. And then slowly, in your own time, there's no rush. You could gently open your eyes. Maybe roll out your neck, your wrists and ankles. And don't be so quick to move. Just notice. That was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Just notice. Taking less than 5 minutes out of your day. You tell me, Zeke. How do you feel?
So good. Yeah. What a blessing. Yeah. Thanks for Thanks for doing that, Mike.
Thanks for the opportunity. I love it. And I'm doing it as well. And it feels amazing. And I love it's called resting awareness, when you let your mind be free. That's when I feel the most joy. And that's getting into a little more of that spiritual side. It's a deeper connection. It's almost like you're powering up. You're powering up with joy, with energy, and then you feel it now. It feels great.
It literally changes your energy, it's funny how it's such a simple thing, that the breath that we're given, the ability to breathe in and breathe out. And, you can go from one mindset to another in a matter of 3 minutes. So what a gift of the human body. Thanks for, walking us through that. I'd encourage anybody out there, if you had a chance to do that with us, maybe save this and come back and you could use that a little bit in your mornings. If you didn't get the chance to do that with us, take some time, go through and, use that gift to give yourself some space to breathe, because it feels good. Yeah. So thanks, Mike. I appreciate you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. Oh, not at all. I love it.
Is this the type of work that you're helping with clients and leaders in the hospitality space? What are the types of things that you're doing with them to, just help them better themselves?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of the people I work with are really, really successful and really, really miserable. And I think there's a certain point where you have to get to the top. Hopefully you don't have to. This is same kind of thing as how low does your bottom need to go? I think a lot of people need to get to the top rung of the ladder and realize I'm still not happy. Like, what the hell? I have everything that I thought was going to make me happy. I have the house or houses and cars or, boats and vacations and family and things and possessions. And it's like, that's not where it is. So I help them see through the sham, see through the lies that they've been told, that consumerism, it's conformity, it's commercialism, it's the matrix. And I help them unplug from the matrix and wake up to reality, which is a lot of through mindfulness practices like we just did. Once the mind settles and life slows down a little, then we do a lot more introspective work. What brings you joy? What's your favorite day? What would you do if money was no object? Actually get them learning about the phrase that I said before, know thyself, actually knowing what brings them joy. Why are they alive? Also, where are they going? And it's not so much to get there. It's really not. It's just to have that North Star as an anchor point so that every day when you wake up, you could just say, thank you or thank God. Like, my life's on track. I know that it's going to be a great day. You go to sleep at night excited about the next day, celebrating the day that you just had, because it feels like it's in alignment. And I think a lot of these leaders that I work with, they're not in alignment, and it has nothing to do with their role or the work that they're doing. It's their soul is somewhere else. They're not aligned with that feeling that you just got from the meditation. So I help them reconnect with who they really are. And I teach them about the law of attraction too. I teach them the power of not only what they're writing or what they're saying, but the power of their thoughts. I teach people that your thoughts literally create reality. And if you have no control over your thoughts, or your thoughts are controlling you, then you're not creating your own reality. You're actually just regurgitating reality day after day. And that's why a lot of people feel like every day is the same. So I teach people to be very careful about what they say and to really know that their word is creating their reality. Even some funny things like the term abracadabra. We all know that, that's how you create. Like, that's what a magician does, is abracadabra, and let me create. That word, those words, actually, it's a mix of Hebrew and Aramaic. It means I will create as I speak. That's what abracadabra means. So just be very careful that you're not complaining. Stop gossiping. Stop just bringing negativity into the world. And that becomes so much easier when you become that generator of peace and positivity and presence. And then you can go out and just emanate that and radiate that. And what is leadership? It's leading and
Yeah.
showing people by your example, not by saying you need to do this. It's just saying, hey, here's what I do. And it works. You could try it.
Yeah. Two of my favorite verses on this idea of law of attraction is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. And then the tongue has the power of life and death. And so these things that we're meditating and these ancient truths that were written in are being spoken of in different ways. And people get sometimes a little woo woo about this, but that's how we were created. Things that you meditate in your mind are a gift and a power to create on the positive side or negative side. And so, we can't control everything that's happening around us, but what you can't control, is here. If you're intentional about it. And so many of us aren't intentional and take this time to slow down, from the rabbit wheel going on. And we don't realize by not being intentional here and complaining out here that we're actually, self-creating it. But if we take the moment, that really powerful of breathe, be intentional on the thoughts, then your outer world starts to reflect your inner world. It's
so true. And I know that was my wake-up call. Because I had the outer, I was trying to figure out the outer. I got to ski and let me live somewhere great. And let me do all these things. And it wasn't the answer. And it's just not the way it works. If you want to change anything in your outer environment, you have to kind of work on yourself first. You have to do that inner work. I think a lot of people who aren't into the woo could relate to this. This is a quote from Albert Einstein, which I think we could all agree was one of our greatest intellectual, logical thinkers. Einstein says, the greatest decision that we make in our lives is whether we view this world as a friendly universe or a hostile universe. So a couple key things in there. Einstein is saying that the greatest decision is a belief. What do you believe? Do you believe it's a beautiful world? Do you believe this is heaven, or do you believe this is hell? And that literally, if you respect Einstein or if you respect logic, you could say like, my beliefs, which are just thoughts that we keep thinking, it doesn't mean that it's real or not. It's just a belief, and we could change our beliefs. If you believe it's a beautiful world and things always work out for you, and the universe is conspiring in your favor, and everyone out there is just a good person that wants good things, you're going to see that. You're going to, I know it, even to, on these, like for me in my life now, if I'm having an off day, everything pisses me off. Everyone looks upset.
Right.
Everyone's angry.
It's and the same is true when I go to the beach and I meditate and tears of joy are running down my eyes. Then I see dogs running and I see, beautiful rays of sun. I see like birds soaring and I listen to the birds singing. It's all in here first. Yeah. Yeah. And look, again, I keep coming back to, this idea of place and, and for me, I'll admit I'm addicted. I love travel. I love going and seeing different places, but my tendency is to lean into, different place, will create a different feeling. And one thing I've learned by spending time in different places is, like in a beautiful area like Costa Rica, you can sit in the area and you can look out, you can see the most beautiful sunset and waves, or you can also look to your right and, you can see mangy dogs running around the street and poverty and everything else. Or you can, and the same, like you can look at I've spent time in the slums in Guatemala, you can see someone that's living in poverty, or you can look in and you can see someone that is passionately loving their family and deeply caring about the people next to them. And it's that, irrelevance of place and relevance of mindset that you begin to see the world in the different lenses that you put on, no matter where you're at.
Wherever you go, there you are.
There you are.
And if you don't like who you are, or you don't like how you're feeling, it's not gonna fix itself out there. It's not going to be different if you're in Italy or Rome, Rome, which you just were, versus Denver, Evergreen. It's still you. And you said something before, which was really great, which is like, you want to bring the best version of yourself into work, into life, for your family. And I think that that's so true. We think that we get success from life. Like, I'm going to get success. I'm going to get joy. I'm going to get happiness from my work or from my vacation or from my car or from whatever it is. But we are bringing that to the world. So if you're bringing joy, if you're bringing success, what does that mean? You have to cultivate it. You have to feel it first. You literally have to be the generator who's creating it within you. And then it's all about and then. So make sure that you're bringing the best, but bringing the best means you have to feel the best first. Think that it's going to happen at some point in the future. That's the lie that we've been sold. There is nothing waiting for you in the future if you don't know how to be present today.
And what I love, back to this idea, if you take care of yourself, then you've got something to flow over to other people. Then, you can start to not just be the thermometer that comes in a room and feels it, but you can be the thermostat that's actually changing.
Love that.
That the room temperature. I tease my wife about this because she's got this just aura that, is the brightest and, will just light up a room when she wants to. Or she's a fiery redhead. She can turn it just the other way if she's ready to turn it the other way. And, I will subtly remind, hey, you're a thermostat, babe. Just remember that. Like, if you want the room to feel this way, you got the option because we're all following. But if you want to bring the light that you've got, it comes out.
Well, and this is a fundamental thing that I teach people. This is the law of attraction. It's not the law of repulsion. So you are literally attracting to you whatever you're putting out there. It's going to be attracted back. So if you're putting out negative vibes, if you're putting out, this is hell, this is the worst, you're going to get that back everywhere. So it's always attraction. The universe always says yes. It only hears yes. So you have to be very clear with your words, with your deeds, your actions, but also with your thoughts. Like, what are you thinking? Are you expecting the day to be great? Or it's like, another shitty day. It's like, and if you think it's going to be a shitty day, the odds that it's not, it's like you really have to start being careful with your intentions. That's what it's all about.
And I'll say another one of my cheat codes is to get around people that do put out those positive vibes.
Absolutely.
And I know you're creating a collective with the Carpe Diem Collective. What is that about? How can people get involved with that?
Yeah. I'm so excited about this. Like I said, the coaching I do, I've worked with suicidal people. Like, this is deep stuff, and I just can't do that one-on-one coaching at scale. So I'm launching a free community for the hospitality industry where I'm going to be sharing practical tips and exercises and meditations and gratitude practices and stories, but also actually to foster community where people can feel seen and heard and share, hey, I'm having a bad day, or hey, like I got this on my mind, and get support from me, from the community itself, and feel like, and know that it's a safe space. And that's going to be a big part of this, is creating that safe space where what happens in that community needs to stay within that community. And it's going to be a really beautiful space. Right now I'm building it. The best way to get involved, I created a free masterclass. It's called Self-Hospitality, naturally. And when you take that, it's broken up into parts. Part 1 will give you basically a link to get updates about the community. So if you go to self-hospitality.com, again, it's free. There's a guided meditation in that workshop. So it's another opportunity to meditate. There's some other real practical hands-on exercises. It's kind of like a workshop. And if you want to stay involved, if you want to get involved in the community, ultimately, when it's live, depending on when this episode airs, you could just go to the carpediemcollective.com, and that will be the community itself.
Awesome. Well, we'll include a link to that at the bottom. Any other place that if people want to get in touch with you or follow what you're doing, Mike, where's the best place for them to do that?
I'm active on social media. It's pretty much at Mike Messeroff everywhere. I'm pretty vocal on LinkedIn. I work with a lot of professionals, so I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I'm posting on Instagram and Facebook. So really anywhere anyone's hanging out, they should be able to find me and message me. And I'm happy to talk to anyone. I'm never selling coaching. It's just, I just want to share like this. I want to share what has changed my life. I really know what it's like to be depressed and to live in anxiety and darkness and feel like there's no hope, and there is, and you're not alone. And there's people who have been where you are and got to the other side, and it's not hard. The other thing I love telling people is that, and this sounds kind of crazy, but your depression and your anxiety, even your panic attacks, are a good thing. If you're noticing them, because that's the universe shaking you. And usually it starts as a gentle nudge or a little tap, but when it becomes panic attacks or depression or burnout, running on empty, then that's your wake up call. That's literally like you saying, okay, I've got the message. I'm feeling depression. I'm feeling anxiety. I'm feeling like there's overwhelm. I can't take it all. Time for a different approach. And for me, I tried everything out there. I didn't try anything in here. So for me, I was like, hey, fuck it. I'm going to try something new. And it worked.
Love it, man. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to share to Mike. It was great to have a conversation, get to know you a little bit. So appreciate you being on the show today.
Enjoy your family. I think the chopping wood is a great thing, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Most people bury themselves in spreadsheets and emails. If you can get outside and warm yourself twice by chopping some wood, that's not a bad thing.
Oh, it's a good thing. All right. Carpe diem.
Carpe diem. Stop grinding, start living.